Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Banking on Experience. I'm your host, James Gilbert. Today we're going to be talking about connecting with your community for something that's much bigger than what you traditionally see. We're going to be joined by somebody that's really good at this, so stay tuned. Hey everybody, thank you again for all the listeners who subscribe to the podcast. If you haven't already, please subscribe. We'd love to hear from you as well. Provide us the feedback. Today we are joined by Teresa Shore from Adventure Credit Union, who has over 30 years of credit union experience. Teresa, thank you for joining us.
And thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you today, and I'm excited to talk about community and the connections that we make here at Adventure Credit Union.
Super exciting. So I'd like to start off by always asking the guests a little bit of a fun question. Let's see here. What is your favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Pretty Woman.
Why is that?
I don't know. I like those fairy tale movies, I think. Yeah.
Good. Okay, let's get into it. Why do you think connecting to the community is so important for credit unions?
Well, when you connect to the community, you're extending your reach, you're cultivating an environment that encourages growth and partnerships. You never know when a partnership is going to turn into a long-lasting relationship. It's the foundation that credit unions are built on, people helping people. We often hear this and see this wording throughout our industry, but I feel like at Adventure Credit Union, we live it every day.
I love it. And talk to me a little bit about how you guys live it.
Well, again, it's the partnerships, it's the helping hand, it's building trust out in the community. I think that our vision statement kind of hits home with this question, and that is, as a trusted financial guide, we partner with members, employees, and community to enrich their financial futures. So this past year, our credit union took on the challenge of investing in education for our staff, mainly our branch managers and our member solution associates. And they all were certified by the Michigan Credit Union League as certified credit union financial counselors. So it was a big group, and it was a big task. We had exams at the end to take, and now we're able to guide our community and our members on a path to help them understand how to be financially sound.
Love it. I mean, I think I did a post on this on LinkedIn today, and we've been running this podcast for like a year now. And one of the things that has been always like in our faces, everybody talks about it, is how much people need financial education.
That is true.
Holy moly, even more so than ever because of this last year. And I love the fact that, that's an area that you had your employees get certified in, because that doesn't happen, Teresa. That does not happen very often. So I love the fact that you're drinking your Kool-Aid here, because I think it's important.
Right. Yeah. And I have found that, credit unions do have financial counselors, but it's usually one staff member. And we're fortunate that the credit union looked at it and said, no, this is needed, so that it's out at every branch, and we can take it into schools, and we can take it to other places where it's very much needed.
Oh, completely agree. So let's talk about that a little bit, because when you're in those communities and you've built a relationship really well with them, and obviously, as you mentioned, it offers an opportunity for growth. So how do you seamlessly bring that into the fold without it seeming like, hey, we're actually getting into the community for growth? Right? It needs to be organic and natural. So how do you bring the relationship side of what you're doing with your members and the community, so that it also helps them, so it helps Adventure Credit Union and other credit unions grow?
Sure. It's taking, I think, and not going out as a salesperson, not going out into the community expecting something back. It's being there for the needs of the community, and then they find their way back to you. That's That's what I feel. Well, yeah.
It's so simple, but you know, it's funny that not many people are doing that. Oftentimes I think that we try to do financial education and even other things for that matter with a somewhat selfish purpose, right?
Hmm.
Well, we're going to do this because it's going to help us grow. And I think what we have to realize is we live in a world now that doesn't like that
No.
anymore. They want true organic like help that has no strings attached. And I
Right.
think that credit unions especially are in a prime position to become, to your point and what you and your team are doing, the certification program that people can go to, and I could ask advice from somebody at a venture credit union and they could give it to me and I could trust them, not just because they work at a credit union, but because now one, they're certified. So that's an additional layer of trust that it brings. So I love that so much.
Yeah, and example would be to reach out to a teacher, especially right now. They're struggling with the virtual and um, just giving them tools. Here's what we have to offer. If you want to use it, use it. But it's here for you, and we can be. That's just one example of how you can help in your community.
I like the teacher example. I think that they're a lot more stressed than they're getting help from really everyone. So I love that. Let's talk about some of the challenges that financial institutions can face by doing this.
Sure.
Give the lay of the land. You did this. So what are the challenges that you faced?
Well, just like we all had to this past year, we had to adjust and we had to change our processes and develop new procedures. And, in the end, I think that we're all stronger and we're more empowered because we had to go through all of this. Zoom is our friend or not, depending on how you look at it. But it was something that a year ago we never would have had that opportunity to use. So that's an empowerment. And even though that we were limited to get out and visit face to face, we were still able to connect to the community through donating to causes, donating time to our partners and giving resources, donating funds. So those are some of the, of course, challenges, not being able to be there face to face. In the fourth quarter of last year, we provided lunches to COVID testers at hospitals, St. Mary's and Sparrow Hospital in Lansing. And we also made donations to the Grand Rapids Home for Veterans, Vicky's Pet Connection, Kids Food Basket. So we were still there. It was a challenge, and I look forward to being able to get back safely into the community and, help.
I couldn't agree more. I think we all are somewhat antsy to get back to somewhat of a normal situation, which that's been, I think, the most phrased term in 2020 coming into this year is what's normal, right?
Right.
When you talk about some of those challenges, one thing that came to my mind, I use this as an example here in Utah, and there's a few credit unions that I only really know them well because of their partnership with a brand and something that I'm very passionate about, and that's basketball. They happen to be partners with the Utah Jazz, who I'm very, very passionate about. And I probably wouldn't know these credit union brands. Just to be totally real, you got Mountain America Credit Union, you got America First, you got Cypress Credit Union. All three of them, I wouldn't even know if it wasn't for the fact that they partnered with a brand that now gets that out there. There's some things that I hate to break it to this industry, but there's just nothing you're going to be able to do to reach an audience unless you do this. Right? So I think that's some of the challenge, right? But I also know, like, how do you double down on a common cause? Like, what can credit unions do to help come to a common cause where they can partner with maybe a Utah Jazz or something like that?
Right. Well, we have some similar thing here with our Grand Rapids Griffins, our hockey team, and we have supported them where our name is on the floor and the ice. So you can't help but not see us there. So I can relate.
So what do you think that people can do to kind of come to a joint cause? Like, let's say you reach out to a brand like the Grand Rapids hockey team. Like, what's the joint cause for you and them?
Sure. You know, they have a youth program that they help with the youth and kind of mentor. So, you know, that's another thing that we're passionate about is the youth and helping educate. So it's just finding those little things like that where you can come together.
It's finding just a really unique common ground, which is, I think, is a really good approach. Some of those same credit unions here in Utah, they partner with an organization that I'm very passionate about, OUR, which helps like child trafficking and trying to end that.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that they're doing things like that, because then that just makes me love those credit unions even more. And to the point where we've actually moved all of our stuff over to some of these credit unions, and we only bank with those credit unions. Used to be big commercial banks, and now we've moved to everything, and that's a big challenge. So if we want to get to the point where people feel comfortable in doing that, the big life step for them to move all their finances.
It sure is.
So you got to somehow earn their trust in the deep level of that relationship.
Well, and that's funny that you mentioned trust, because that is one of our core values, is to become a trusted financial guide. So, yes.
So there's something that you mentioned in our previous conversation about community connection, and I might have got this title wrong, but talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's Adventure Gives, and each year we have a committee that gets together and they come up with an annual initiative for that year. And then there's subcommittees that then go out into the community and find ways to support that initiative. This year, I haven't seen the full plan, but I know that we're focusing on the green initiative. So this year, everything that we do within the community as far as donating our time and our resources and our funds will have something to do with that initiative. Our mayor in the city of Grand Rapids has a green initiative of her own, where that you go out and plant trees and you go out and clean parks and you clean communities. And so we will be there. As long as it's safe, we're going to be out and doing those things. We've worked with community gardens and Habitat for Humanity, building houses. You know, you see our tellers out there with tool belts and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's what we have as this committee, and it has worked. I think we've put it together 3 years ago, and it's working very well.
Can you dive into that a little bit more? Who's involved in the community in the committee?
In the committee, it's various people through different levels of the credit union. We've got someone from our marketing team, you know, we've got someone, a VP in there, and someone from HR, and so someone from our call center. And so there's a big variety of voices there that are supporting and bring those ideas. We used to have our branch managers in that, and we've kind of stepped away from that and let other voices be heard, because that's what we do on a day-to-day basis at the branch. Is we are in our communities, and we know our little niches in our communities. You know, you might have a branch that is in a farm community, and you know that you want to connect with the farmers, and you know, so we've kind of stepped away from that and allowed other employees of the credit union and have a voice.
I really love that approach. So much, in fact, that I'd like you to maybe give 1 or 2 steps that credit unions can do today to maybe start doing this. And I think maybe even one of them, from my perspective, just hearing you today, would be start a committee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be anything big. You know, you can just bring in a few people. And like I said, coming up with that, I believe that having an annual plan and an initiative is the key to being successful. Otherwise, you're going to be all over the place and you're not going to know what the focus is. Like, you come up with what your end results that you want. You know, where do you want to be in the community? What do you want the community to notice you? at the basketball game, or, you know, where is that at?
Love it. Teresa, we're at time, but I have one more question for you. Where can listeners talk to you and find you if they want to talk to you about community?
Sure. I can be reached at 616-243-0125, and my extension is 1601. Or an email can be sent off to adventuregivesteam@adventurecu.org.
Teresa, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. I know that we were a little nervous about this, but hey, I thought it went great.
All right. Thanks again for having us.